Kathleen Beamish Bartos, your friendly neighborhood realtor, here with George Bassenback, our friendly neighborhood inspector. And now we're going to talk about, hi, George. Now we're
Hi.
going to talk about the HVAC systems in your home. And the HVAC systems are your furnace, if you have central air, hot water tank, and your thermostat. Right, George?
Yes. If you have a furnace also. Some people have baseboard heat, so
So that would be a boiler.
not necessarily. You could have electric heat, baseboard heating too. So
So that would be a heat pump.
no.
Did both. Okay, I don't know. What is it?
Okay,
If
baseboard.
it's electric, it's a heat pump.
No, baseboard heating is going across the baseboard, and you have different thermostats for each room,
Oh,
and
okay.
it just controls that baseboard heating in that room.
So it's not radiators because that's water.
Right.
It's baseboard electric. Okay.
Right.
Well, that was interesting. I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
tell us some more about furnaces.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Okay. I said, why don't you go into more detail on what you inspect with a furnace?
Okay. Pretty much what we do is I go in, and even if it's 90 degrees outside, I turn up the heat all the way.
Yep.
We give it
single time and every
right.
and I can vouch for that.
Yeah, yeah. That last house we did, man, it was kind of humid that day, and it was oh. Anyways, we go in, we turn up the heat. When I go down there, I look for several different things. One, how dirty is the unit? Okay. It's very important to make sure that the units are properly maintained and cleaned on a regular basis.
Now, how does the average homeowner know whether or not the inside of their furnace is clean?
Regular maintenance. If the furnace is less than 10 years old, I tell them have it serviced at least every 2 years.
Every two. Okay.
Over 10 years old, it should be serviced every year. So I say the rule of thumb is September. Have somebody come out, check your furnace, make sure that it's cleaned properly and that everything is working properly in it. Okay? So that's the first thing. We look to make sure how dirty it is. Second thing is I look at the flame. If it's a gas, I look at the flame on it to make sure that it's a nice blue color. Sometimes you have a tint of red or orange, but that just means there's a little bit of dirt in there.
Okay.
If it's completely red or orange, then you could be having a possible problem with your heat exchanger.
Okay.
So I look at that. I look to make sure that there's a filter in the unit and that it's clean and it's going the proper way.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know that there is a certain way to put in a filter.
I don't know if you remember this, but 3 years ago when I moved into this house, you did the inspection. And last year I was changing the filter in the AC, in the furnace, changing the filter this time of year. And all of a sudden my AC didn't work anymore. And I had to pay this guy to come out and look at my furnace. And here it was just because I didn't close the door good enough.
Yeah.
I didn't close the door. I didn't tighten it good enough after I put that filter in.
Yeah, there's a safety mechanism on those that if you don't secure the door properly, it will not kick back on.
And another tidbit of information that I learned just this week as well. My AC went out this week on me, and I have asthma, so it's not an option to open the windows. So I went down and looked at it, and I saw that the pipes were freezing up. I saw some ice on it. And that happens a lot with me because I like to keep my house at 63 winter and summer. 63 all the time. So I turned it off for several hours, let that melt, then I turned it back on and we're fine.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta be
People.
you gotta be really careful when you're doing and I would put like insulation around that too to kind of help that out.
Okay, there is insulation around it, but
It still froze up, huh?
yes, because
Wow. Your
I
house
like,
must be really cold.
yes, I like to have it cold. It's happened to me for years in the old house. It happened. They would come
You
out and
can
say, "You can't turn it this low all the time." And I'm like, "Yeah, I can. It's my house."
you can hang meat there, huh?
Yes, yes, that's what my brother-in-law used to say all the time. Girls, put a sweater on. Remember, Aunt Kathy's house, you can hang meat in her house. About the central air.
Okay, central air is the unit on the exterior of the home. Now, in our area, it gets a little chilly in the wintertime. So, if you have central air and I'm doing the home inspection and the temperature is below 65 degrees for 24 hours before we do it, technically, I cannot turn that central air on. If it's somewhere
Because
right
why?
around,
Why is it that you can't turn it on?
it could damage the parts inside the central air itself or the unit outside. If it's between 55 and 65, usually what I'll do is if the sun is on the unit or it's like warmer at the time we're doing the inspection, even though it was colder like in the morning,
Uh-huh.
I'll kick it on for a quick minute or so just to make sure it's running, and then I'll
Right.
shut it back down. If it's any colder than that, I will not turn it on at all because we just can't. Okay. Um, the other thing that I'm looking for is make sure that the refrigerant line, which is the line that's taking uh, the gases through, um, make sure that that's well insulated because if not, you're just wasting a lot of energy,
Yeah.
from that. Um,
And I know you also recommend that if it's not on a pad, that you should absolutely get it up on a pad.
it
Then
should,
you recommend that we should cover it in the winter.
yes, we do recommend that it's leveled, so on some kind of pad or whatever. And definitely, unless it's oh my gosh, my brain is going to mush right now.
You should cover it in the wintertime to protect it. Yes?
Right, right. If it's not a heat pump, then you need to cover it. Okay,
Yes.
now the important thing that I tell everybody is a lot of people buy air conditioning covers for them. If you buy one, it cannot go all the way down. It,
It
it
has to
only
be
goes
vented.
halfway because it still needs air circulating through it. I tell them otherwise, get a board and a brick and just put it on top. You're just trying to protect the blades.
Right. You just want to vent it over it.
Yes,
It's not
yes,
like your patio furniture that you want to completely cover.
yes, exactly.
Okay, so what about the hot water tank? Now, I just was reading something earlier that said it's expensive to replace a furnace and a hot water tank. It's expensive to replace a furnace, but not a hot water tank, is it?
Well, the prices have gone up, Kathleen.
Oh, thanks, Joe. All right, what's going on with hot water tanks?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're probably looking at maybe a 40, 50-gallon tank costing you maybe close to about $800 to have
Oh,
it
okay, that's
installed.
about 300 more than I thought it was.
Yeah, it's gone up
And
significantly.
that's just for the hot water tank. It's not for putting it in, right?
No, that would probably be installation. Yeah,
Okay, all right.
yeah.
You used to be able to
Um,
get a hot water tank for $150.
I
Yeah,
I don't know. I haven't had to price one lately.
you used to be able to. I mean, probably years ago, but
Yeah.
What's
Uh,
important that we need to inspect? What can we look at on the outside of a hot water tank to know whether or not it's been maintained properly?
okay, there's several different things that we look at. We look at to see if there's any corrosion around the pipes. We look to see if there's any leaking going on. We look to see if there's any burn marks, like if it's a gas one on the exterior part of the hot water tank. Now, as we're going through it with the general home inspection too, we make sure we turn on all the faucets, the hot water faucets. So we're pretty much, as we're going through, we're draining that hot water tank and we're letting it fill up and we're letting it heat up again.
Okay.
So a lot of sellers don't like us because we're using up so much water, but there's
That's
there's
important.
there's a
That's the
method to
only
our
way
madness.
right. That's the only way we can see how if it's working, right?
Right. Now, the new thing I'm telling people too is that if they have a finished basement or if they're on a slab where the hot water tank is anywhere near like a living space,
Yeah.
okay, it is definitely a good idea to have a pan installed underneath that hot water tank.
How do you do that? Because I need to do that. How do you have a pan installed underneath that hot water tank? And
It
how much
is
does that cost me?
it is a pain in the rear end, Kathleen. I'm telling you this. But in the end, it could save you thousands of
Yeah.
dollars.
Yeah.
It costs
I had
maybe
a hot water tank in my second house burst on me 2 hours before a Halloween party. It was supposed to be happening in the basement. So yeah, I know it's a nightmare. So I want to make sure I take care of it.
it's probably about $50 to $75 for the pan itself.
Okay.
But you have to drain the tank, you have to disconnect all the pipes and stuff just to raise it up a couple inches to put that pan underneath. And then I tell a lot of people that if you have a floor drain accessible, to install like PVC pipe
Yeah.
as a
Right.
drain to run it to that. So if it does leak, it's just going to go right into the drain.
Right.
So I always suggest that, but I also tell them what a pain it would be to do,
Yes.
but the importance of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's worse. It's more work after if you don't do it.
right now, if the hot water tank is to an age where I think they're going to be replaced in the next year or so, I tell them just keep a good eye on it, and when you replace it, make sure you buy that pan for it too. It's a lot easier to do when you're installing one than after the fact.
Absolutely. And our last aspect of HVAC is inspecting the thermostat.
Right.
Tell us about the thermostat, different types of thermostat.
Oh my gosh. The one that I love the most,
Yes.
but it's always is the Nest. I love it. But there are some that are very temperamental to me, and I'm not computer savvy. So it's like I stand there for a while just trying to figure it out, you know.
I
But
love I love anything that can be connected to my smart home. If
yeah,
I can look it up on my phone and see what it's doing, I want it. So
I love that. Now, what I'm looking for is just to make sure that when you adjust it, that it's doing what it needs to do. It's kicking on the furnace or it's kicking on the AC. A lot of times, and now I bring batteries with me because, especially in vacant homes, you go in there and the battery's dead.
mhm.
So,
And a lot of people, most people, do not even realize that there is a battery in there.
yeah, and a lot of the newer ones, the older ones, like the twist that
He
they're
$75
connected.
to find out that there was a battery in there.
Right.
I had to have a guy come out. I called the guy because I said my thermostat's not working. So $75 is what my home warranty charges me for to have somebody come out and look at it. Came out and looked at it, and that's exactly what was wrong. That the
Yeah,
battery
needs a new battery. And
I
it's
had no idea there
it
was even a
says-
battery in there.
yeah, and if you look at it, it says battery's low, so you can you can see it. But yeah, so I just check it to make sure. I did a house the other day in Brook Park that There was nothing. I changed the batteries and it was still not working. So they had to have somebody come in and replace the thermostat.
Okay. All right. So when we're looking at the HVAC, inspecting HVAC, we're looking at the furnace, central air, if you have it, hot water tank, and your thermostat. George, this was very informative. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add?
The one other thing, hot water tanks. If you have an electric hot water tank, just kind of there is an element that goes into that heats up the tank. So if for some reason you're not getting hot water, you can usually just replace that element instead of replacing the whole tank.
Oh, awesome. Good tip.
So just keep that in mind that there are some that you can do that. Right, just for the electric ones.
Okay. Is an electric or a gas one better than the other, or is it just like buying a Ford or buying a Chevy? Some people like the Ford, some people like Chevys.
Yeah, it heats the water. You know.
Does it take longer for electric to heat it than does gas?
Probably. You know, I mean, I've had an electric one before.
I lived in an all-electric house for 28 years. I never noticed any problems like that.
No.
I must have had gas, so I moved to this house. And now when I go to use the stove, I'm frightened to death because I see fire. I just can't do it. I'm like, I want an electric stove. I know the gas stove, everyone says it's better, but it frightens me.
It's a taste thing, you know. It's whatever your taste is.
Well, thank you again, George, and everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is Kathleen Beamish-Bartos with Beamish Homes, your friendly neighborhood realtor, here with George Bassenbach. You can reach me at 440-821-2269, and you can reach George.
440-429-4932.
Thanks, everybody. Join us next time. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kathleen.